Hey everyone, in this video I will be showing you how to implement chat history by which OpenAI API will be able to understand our previous conversations. So I'm going to implement this in Python. So let's get started. So here I have already implemented an OpenAI API code with Python flask. So by which I will be able to send the prompt and get the response. If you want to watch the entire tutorial on this, you can just click on the card that is appearing on top. I have done all this stuff from scratch. So for those who don't want to watch that, let me just explain it. I'm using here two packages, one is OpenAI and Flask. OpenAI is going to be the official package which helps us to interact with OpenAI API, and Flask is used to create this REST API endpoints in Python. So here I'm having my OpenAI API key, and this is the endpoint / route. I'm sending the prompt as the request, and here I'm getting the prompt, and that prompt is being sent to OpenAI's GPT-4o model, and I'm getting the response over here, and the response is being sent back. Okay, so this is how it looks. I'm sending the response back, and that response will be displayed over here. So if I just send it now, I sent a 3-line poem as a prompt. I'm getting 3 lines of code. So this is fine, but the issue is this code doesn't have any chat history. For example, if I ask any questions about my previous prompt, it will give nothing. So I'll be explaining you 4 ways how you can do this. So let's get started with the first way. It's going to be the obvious way, which is the adding request and response. So basically what we will do here is we'll be having here a list, and we will input both our request as well as the response that we get from OpenAI API. So we will be fetching that both and putting in that list. So every time we call OpenAI's API, we will be sending that particular list which already has our previous prompt. So this is going to be our first way. So this particular list stores all the previous chat and response. So by that way, OpenAI API will have the access or the context to our old conversations. I hope this made sense, and this is going to be a global variable, because if we declare this variable inside the route, each time the function gets called, it will be like reinitialized, which makes it to lose the past data in it. So we need to declare this as a global variable. So I'm just going here, and let me just have it as chat underscore history. This is going to be the name, and it's going to be a list, so square bracket, and inside it you'll be defining the role as well as the content. Alright, so if I scroll down, as you can see inside the messages, I'm having here the role and the prompt. I'll just go here and copy this and put it over here. So this is the initial start of the chat history. Here we won't be having any any content from the user. So here the role is going to be system, and here you need to have it as content. It's going to be just the OpenAI's system. So it's going to be you are a helpful AI assistant. So this is going to be our initial state, okay, in the chat history. We won't be having any content from the user. It's going to be just OpenAI system. And now for each prompt that we send and for each response that we get from OpenAI API, we will be appending it to this particular list. So for that, we need to access this list inside our generate method. So for that, we'll be using the global keyword in Python. So it's going to be global space this particular list name. The reason why we are using here global keyword is that we are specifying to Python that this is a global variable. I'm accessing the variable which is outside this generate function. If we don't use global, this will treat it as a local variable inside the function scope. So that's the reason why we are defining it as global. And next is the easy work. Basically, we will be appending our prompt from the user as well as the response. So what we can do is, here I'm having the prompt, right? So here I'm sending a error if the prompt is not present. So to this, the next line is going to be the variable name, which is chat history dot. We'll be having the append inbuilt function, which basically adds an element to our list. So a new object will be added. So what we can do is, I'm just going to copy this, all right, and inside the append, open circular bracket and paste it. So rather than here having the name as system, the role as system, I'm going to have it as user, and here the content is going to be prompt. So basically we will denote OpenAI API that this is a user's prompt that we are sending. And now we are done adding the request, which is our prompt. Next we need to add the response that we get from OpenAI API. So I can just literally copy this and go down, and before the return statement, paste it over here, and be careful with the indentation, and it's going to be system, because I'm getting that particular response from the system, right? So I can't go and put there user, and I will be getting the response. So the response is stored in this completion variable, and this is how we are sending it. So basically this refers to this response. Okay, this is what present inside it. Okay, so what we can do is we can just copy this and just put it over here. So this is a response that we are getting, and we are just appending it into that list. So now basically we are done adding both the request as well as the response. Now we need to just pass it to our OpenAI's API. So for that, here we are having the messages, right? This is a list, so we can just remove this, and we will just pass our chat history variable. That's basically it. So for better understanding, let me also print this chat history variable. All right, so I will just have it as print, and I'm going to have this variable chat history printed, saving it and rerun it. Yeah, that's good. I'll just go here now, and I'm just going to send hi, how are you? That's it. I'll just send it. So we have got the response, and if I go here, this is what is present inside our chat history variable. So first thing, this is the default one, which is the initial value, and after that we are adding the prompt. So the prompt is over here, and after that we are appending the response, and as you can see, we are having the response over here. So now let's just ask another question. I'll just go, let's just, if it has the past memory. Okay, I'm just going to give my name is John. All right, I'm just giving it some information about me and send it. So it's saying, nice to meet you, John, how can I assist you today? If I go to my chat history, as you can see, we are having the previous conversations, and here role, user, content, my name is John is there, and we have got the response. I will go with another one. Okay, I am 20 years old, and I will send it, and I'll just go with another one. I have a car and bike. Okay, I'm just sending random stuff, and each one of these conversations are getting stored in our chat history variable. Now I will just go and ask, what is my name? All right, I'm going to ask something from my old conversation. It's going to be, what is my name? And if I send it, here you can see it has given me my name. Your name is John, and let me ask, how old am I? And send. I gave it 20 years old, and here you can see it has given me 20 years old. So by this way you will be able to get information from your previous conversations, and everything will be getting appended over here. This is good, right? This is fantastic, but there is a problem with this particular thing. The main problem is we are adding too much of data inside our chat history, and this particular chat history is being sent into our OpenAI's API, which is going to in turn cost us a lot of tokens. Because imagine, in my case, I'm just sending one line statements, and I'm just appending the input request as well as the response. But what if you had a use case where you are appending a lot of input request and a lot of response? So imagine your user inputs a request that has 100 lines, and the response is going to be 100 lines. In that case, literally 100 line is going to get appended into your chat history, and that will be in turn fed as an input to OpenAI API. This is going to burn a lot of input tokens for you and will cost you a lot of credits. So in order to avoid that, the second way that I'm going to show you is, you are just going to send only the request alone. You're not going to send the response. You're not going to append the response. So in this case, what we can do is, I will just comment the response. So basically it just depends upon your use case how you want to have it. Only the request prompt is going to get appended into our chat history. So I'll just stop it and rerun, and I'll just go with I am Dave and send it. I am in college and send it. And here you can see the default one, the initial one, and only my prompt is getting stored. So by this way we are able to reduce the number of input tokens that we send to OpenAI API, which is going to reduce our cost, because in most of the cases the response isn't even required to be stored in like the future request. So in that case you can just have only the prompts getting saved, and even if you want to like trim it, you can even use the trim function. For example, here you are having the prompt, right? Rather than giving you the entire prompt, you can just trim that particular prompt. So for that you can just have a square bracket, it's going to be colon and 50. So this basically will only get the first 50 characters of the user's input prompt. For example, imagine the user is going to like type 100 lines, and we don't want all the 100 to get stored in our chat history, right? Because it's going to cost a lot of input tokens. In that case, by this way we are like literally trimming the user's prompt to 50 characters. This is also another way you can try doing it. So this is the second method that I said to you, and the third method is going to be by trimming the output response itself. So exactly similar to the other way that I told you, we're just going to like uncomment this one, and what I will do is there are two ways how you can trim this. One is by using the max tokens. For example, here I will go inside this completion, client chat completions function, go inside it, we will be having another value called as max tokens. All right, and we will do pass it like, I'll just go with 50, or let me go with 50 this time. So basically what it means is that how much ever the user is going to input, we will be only getting 50 tokens in the output. By this way we are controlling the number of tokens that is being generated by OpenAI API, which can reduce our output cost. And also we are reducing our chat history because we are only getting 50 tokens max. So I'm just saving it and just going to like rerun it again. So imagine a user comes, I'm in college, yeah, I will just ask it to like, I am Dave and give me an essay on global warming, something like this, and send it. So now we will be getting only 50 tokens in the response. So this 50 tokens will be getting saved inside our chat history. There is a disadvantage with this method. Like as you can see here, I have asked a essay, but I'm only getting 50 tokens in the output. So we can't like directly hard code this max tokens. Imagine a use case where you want to have like more than 50 tokens. If you want only 50 tokens, it's absolutely fine. This method is the best. But what if you wanted to show the user more in the response but save less in the the chat history? So for that you can just remove this, and we'll be using that exact same trim method. So we'll just go here inside our append thing, we can just square bracket, and inside that it's going to be colon and 50. All right, so by this way I'm reducing the number of characters that are getting appended into chat history, but I'm not disturbing the response that I'm getting from OpenAI's API. So this is also another way. Everything just depends upon your use case, to be honest. If you are like fine with only getting the history from the prompt, you can do that. But if you want to get the response also, this is an amazing way to do it. For example, if I just now run it and I'm sending the same, so now in the response we will be getting more number of text in the output. I'm getting a lot of output. But if I go into my chat history, as you can see, this is the request and this is a response. Only 50 characters, just trimmed into 50 characters over here. So this is another way how you can do this. And the final way is going to be removing the past conversations. This is also quite an interesting way. Like for example, imagine you are going on adding more and more conversations, and it's getting stored inside our chat history variable. So in that case, what you can do is you can basically remove the past conversations. So you can just have a condition like this. Okay, so I will just go here onto the top, like here somewhere, and it's going to be if I'm finding the length of our chat history. So if length of chat history, just move this, and if our chat history length is greater than, you can have it like, let me go with past 5 conversations, is going to have the past 5. Okay, so if the conversation length is going to go above 5, I want to clear the first 5 conversations. I want to only have the latest 5 conversations. So in that case, what I will do is chat history square bracket 1 colon equal to chat history square bracket is going to be, inside that it's going to be -5, which is going to remove the first 5 conversations. All right, so this is also another way that you can do it. So this basically removes the first 5 conversations if the conversation count goes above 5. So it will be like getting updated each time and will have only the latest 5 conversations stored inside it. So this is also a good way that you can do. So I'll be also showing you 2 other ways. One is going to be unique user ID for chat history, as well as clearing our chat history conversations, because this chat history will keep on going and adding. We need to also have a way like an endpoint to clear this chat history. Alright, so I'll be showing you how you can do that also now. So first, why do we need this unique user ID? For example, in our case, imagine we are going to deploy this particular code into production or a real life application. In that case, we are literally storing everything inside this chat history variable, which is not at all feasible. Imagine thousands of users are going to use, everything is going to get stored inside this variable, so it will go like out of length. Even if you like clear and use it, I guess it can't store large amount of data inside a particular variable. So in case if you are deploying or creating a AI chat assistant where you want to have the past history also, I would recommend you to save the chat history inside a database. So every time the user chat something, you're getting the response from OpenAI API, right? So you need to like append this inside a chat history variable, and then you're just going to store it inside your database like MySQL or MongoDB. And the next time when the user makes a new call, you're going to make get use of this chat history and then start the conversation. So by this way, rather than storing it inside a single list or a variable, every user's chat history will be stored in the database, so which literally eliminates the use of global storage. This won't be used. Rather than that, for every user ID, the conversation will be fetched, and that particular conversation will be appended and added with the latest prompts as well as the response. So I guess that's a better way than using this global variable. So this method is fine if you're creating like a final year project or some some MVP for an application, but in the long run, in case if you're going to have thousands of users, the database way is the better way. So I'll be showing you how you can do that also. Like imagine in case if you're having lot of users, so let's also like try doing that over here. So for this, we'll be having a like a global memory again. So let me just remove this chat history thing, or let me just comment it. Okay, just comment this, and this is going to be a dictionary, or you can call it hash map or a map. So basically we will be having the user ID, and for each user ID we will be having a separate chat history list like this. So let me just go here. It's going to be user underscore histories, something like this, user histories, and this is going to be a empty dictionary, so it's going to be curly bracket. And I will also just have a variable. It's going to be system underscore message, because we will be requiring this particular variable when we are clearing it to the initial state. So I'll just have it as this value. All right, just remove the comments. So rather than sending the prompt alone, I will be also sending the user's ID. So imagine you're having a front end and somebody is using, you will be passing their ID along with their prompt also. So here it's going to be user underscore ID and equal to, let me just copy this, and it's going to be user ID like this. And you can just have a check over here. If the user doesn't send the user ID, you can just throw error. Next, we will be initializing our user histories with that particular user ID. So it's going to be if user underscore ID is not present in, it's going to be user histories, then we will be initializing with a default value, which is the system message. So I will just come here. It's going to be user histories and off square bracket, and inside that we will be passing the user ID equal to square bracket, and inside that we will be passing the system message, okay, which is this one. So basically we are just initializing with the default default thing that we are having over here. Next, we need to append our prompt as well as the response that we are getting. So I am storing this as a list. So inside that list, basically we will be appending all for that particular user ID. So just come to the next line. It's going to be, I'll just name it as chat history itself. I'll just name it as chat history, and this time it's equal to, we're just going to copy this, yeah, and put it. Basically that's the code. So what happens here is that for each unique user ID, I'm just accessing its chat history, which is basically the list that we have created, and inside that I am appending this particular user prompt, and after that inside that chat history I am appending the response. So every time a different user is going to send a new request, their user ID will be mapped and it will get added in their own list. So let me just run this and see if it works. So I'm just saving it and stop this, rerun it again. So we need to have another key which is called as user ID. So I'll just go to postman and we're just going to put a comma and add the user ID. So this is going to be like a random one, and I'll just have it as 12, something like this, and I'll just give a name. Okay, I'm just going to give I am Dave, that's it, and send it. Yeah, this is good. And so the user ID 12 is Dave, and let me just go here and change the user ID. I'm just going to change the user ID as 13, so it's going to be I am John. All right, sending it. Okay, that's good. And now if I go to the user ID 12 and ask what is my name, as you can see, we are getting the name is Dave. The reason is because here in this particular chat completion, we are sending only the chat history, and this chat history variable only has the data of that particular user with the user ID. All right, it doesn't store the other user's one. So if I go here with the user ID as 13 and ask what is my name, I'll be getting my name is John. That's perfect. And now let's see a way how we can like clear this data. This applies for everything, like the previous 4 methods also that I showed. We need to always have a way to clear our like the global variable and stuff. So for that we need to just have another endpoint. So I'll just copy this endpoint thing over here and paste it. So it's going to be slash clear, and it's going to be of type post, and it's going to be define clear. And what we can do is we can like clear the entire user histories itself, or we can just clear that particular user ID. So I will go with clearing that particular user ID data. We need to have the user ID because we are going to clear the data for that particular user alone. So I'll just go here and get these, copy this stuff and put it over here. We will be getting that particular chat history access. So we will just come here. We have already written the code for this, which is this one. We're just getting access to the chat history of that. So just copy this with the help of the user ID, paste it over here, and now we will set the chat history to the default value. So just copy this chat history variable, and by default we will be having that system message. So as you can see here, if the user ID is not present, I am initializing it to the system message, right? We can just copy this. Okay, we don't even need to like use chat history. We can just like directly yeah, that's basically the code. So how it works is that if the user ID is not present, we initialized it with the system message. So the system message is over here, which is this default message stuff. And we are also doing the exact same thing. Imagine the user has written a lot of chat prompts, and at the end we want to clear it. So what we are doing is we are accessing that particular user's chat history with the help of user ID, and we are just overwriting the existing chats with the system message, which is the initial default one. So all the existing chat histories in the list will be replaced by the system message. As simple as that. So I'll just save it, and let me just rerun it again. So we don't have anything, right? So let me just go with 13, and let me give the name as my name is Dan and send it. So 13 is Dan, and so if I go and ask what is my name, we'll be getting, yeah, your name is Dan. Okay, that's fine. So let me just create a new one. It's going to be of type post. I'll just copy all and paste it over here, and it's going to be the endpoint is clear, which is this one, and we need to just pass the user ID. So going here, copying this post body raw JSON and pasting it. So we're just going to pass the user ID. That's it. And I forgot to add a thing. We didn't add like the response. We need to return something. So I'll just add that over here. I'll just copy this and put it over here, and let me just have cleared. That's it. That's going to be it. And let me just save it and rerun it again. And if I send, we're getting the response as cleared. And if I go and give the exact same prompt, earlier we got the response as Dan, right? So if I send it, here you can see I don't have access to your personal data. So we have successfully cleared the chat history for that particular user ID. So you can follow all these methods if you're going to create like a minimalistic app or like an MVP for a project. But in case if you want like thousands of users to use this, you'll be basically fetching from the database. So we are having the user ID, right? So here basically what you will do is you will just fetch from DB that particular user's chat history, and you will be sending that, and at the end you can follow this max tokens thing as well as this trim thing, and before returning the response here you'll be just inserting. All right, so in that case you won't be having any need to have a global variable. So for every user you'll be having a individual entry in the database. So with the help of this user ID you'll be fetching that entry and performing the chat histories like this, appending it to the list, and then inserting that chat history back to the database. So by that way you will be like eliminating the use of this global variables if you want to create a real life application. In case if you are going to create application like few hundreds or 2-digit number of users are going to use, you can just go with this global variable way, which avoids use of any database, just does with the server. Okay, so that's my opinion, guys. Please let me know in case if you have any better ways of implementing this. I just found it useful. So do check the playlist of my channel. Done a lot of videos in programming and AI tools. Subscribe me. Thanks for watching.